So this is the best example I could have used to explain the difference between increasing taxes, expanding the tax base, and the Laffer curve. I want to use black tax, which most of us can relate to in the African context. Imagine yourself as a parent who has 6 sons. You have the firstborn who has a white-collar job. White-collar job is a corporate job. Corporate jobs, number one, they are a bit more reliable. They get stable income. They are almost certain that their employer will pay them at the end of the month, and they are also guaranteed of something called job security. So think of your firstborn as someone who has a white-collar job. Think of your secondborn as someone who has a blue-collar job. Blue-collar jobs are basically these manual labor kind of jobs. They are neither here nor there. They can be available or not. They can be reliable or not. Sometimes they get paid, sometimes they don't get. But your second-born son has a blue-collar job. And then you have your third-born son who you don't really know what they do. All you know is that they do business or they are entrepreneurs, and you know that they make money. And then the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth sons, these guys are unemployed. And as a matter of fact, they're relying on you. So in the case of now a parent who wants support home, most parents find themselves in the dilemma of going to the firstborn. Why? They are reliable. They will always send something home. They will always visit home. They will always take care of the rest of the family. And parents tend to now go back to these firstborns for survival or for support. And the firstborn children or sons keep supporting and they'll keep giving their best. The problem is it reaches a point where this firstborn can be pushed to the corner. And this, in the case of an economy, is what we call the firstborn is like the payee. The payee is the most reliable source of income to the government through individual taxes, and it is assured, it is guaranteed. Even the way in which the government gets it is almost guaranteed. Now, when the government wants to increase its taxes, it now goes payee most of the time. And you have seen why there's a very small group of people in the economy who are supporting the bigger economy in terms of payee. And because of how easy it is to access this tax, the government keeps using it as a way of increasing its taxes. Now, the problem is when parents keep going to this firstborn, and then the firstborn son reaches a point where they become frustrated, they can now even decide not to come home. It can reach a point where they can decide only to be visiting home once, even though they were coming 3 times before. And because of that, the amount of money they were sending home might reduce. Even though the firstborn was initially comfortable sending 20,000 home, they are now becoming frustrated and they start sending 15 or even 10. Guys, that is what the Laffer curve basically means. That even though initially the economy was willing to give you 20,000, it now decides to give you 15 because of frustrations. Because now they are feeling like you are not understanding and you are taking advantage of them. And therefore, even though the more you continuing demanding from them, now the less now they are willing and able to give you. So the firstborn might decide to do that. And therefore, the parents will lose out. In the case of the economy, the government loses out. This second-born son, who does a blue-collar job, they are always also reliable and available, but the only problem is they have nothing to give. They have little, and most of the time, the little they have, they use it to their families. So while parents would love to rely on them, but parents also understand that they don't have much. In the case of the government knows that there is this second-born who has a blue-collar job, but what they have is very little. The more you push these guys, the more frustrated they become. And who knows, they can decide to not even go to work. Yeah, because when you keep pushing these guys and they have nothing and they have told you they have nothing, and there is no even structure in which you can collect the money from these guys. So parents might not rely on them as much as they would wish. Now, when it comes to expanding tax base, parents can decide to go to the third-born son. The only problem, like I've told you, this third-born son, they make the most money most of the time. But the parents don't know anything about their income. They don't know anything about their business. They don't know anything because these guys have deliberately limited information. So parents can decide to go to this son and tell them to start supporting the family. The problem is the parents don't know how far they can push these children because they don't know how much these guys make. So in the case of the government, these are the business community, the entrepreneurs who have not disclosed a lot of information, and there are many. And they're making a lot of money. Now, the only dilemma as well, or the conflict of interest with this third-born, is that most of the time, again, they have a soft spot with their parents. They usually have a very interesting relationship because they're friends. So the parent doesn't know how to push them, and at the same time, they just don't know how to be very hard on these sons. The government works the same way. There is a very special relationship between the business community or the entrepreneurs with the government because they are friends. Most of them they belong in the same network, and they don't want to interfere with each other because they do so much together. So that is why you will find that even though the government speaks about expanding tax base, they sometimes don't touch these people because they don't want to be conflicted, because behind the scenes they do so much business together. That is why you will see now the government trying to expand the tax base, or in this case the parents will start now trying to figure out, how do I help these 4th, 5th and 6th sons to get a job? This is what is called expanding the tax base. You go to the child who doesn't give anything at home even though they make money, or you try and get a job for the children who don't have job. And you have seen it, you've seen the government try to do that. They have spoken about, taking people to Middle East, taking people to the UK, taking people. So they are trying to get jobs for these people so that they can find ways of making more money to come back home. I have tried the best that I can to explain to you what expanding the tax base is, increasing the tax, and what also the Laffer curve means. I hope this makes sense.